You've been asking yourself this quietly late at night, staring at your screen while the numbers move against you. You know you should stay calm. You know the rules you wrote for yourself, and yet the moment comes and all of it collapses. You find yourself clicking that button, increasing your lot, chasing that reversal, reacting to fear or hope, and in a split second, everything you intended is gone. Why does this keep happening? Why do you keep making emotional decisions even when you know better? That question is not just a fleeting frustration. It is the signal that something deeper, structural, and profoundly overlooked is controlling your trading. Welcome to Intentional Trading, the channel where we don't just teach you how to trade, we teach you how to stop being traded by your own impulses. This is where you take back control. The truth is, emotions are not your enemy. They are the indicators of misalignment between your behavior and your structure. When you trade from impulse, it is not because you are weak. It is because your process is incomplete. Your model, your framework, and your rules exist only in theory. They exist on paper or in your mind, but they have not been anchored into your nervous system. And this is where most traders fail silently. They believe discipline is a matter of willpower. They believe structure is something they can apply intermittently, like a patch over a wound, rather than a design embedded into every fiber of their trading. Ask yourself, when the market moves unpredictably, when price stretches against you, when that single candle shatters your expectation, what happens inside you? Panic, frustration, urgency. And these are not random. They are mechanical responses conditioned over years of reactive behavior. Each impulsive trade you made, each revenge trade, each time you ignored your rules, reinforced the pattern in your mind. You are literally training yourself to react, to fuse with emotion, to trade as a creature of compulsion rather than a practitioner of structure. Now, here's the part most traders never realize. You think you are trading the market, but the market is not your real opponent. The market doesn't care about your stress, your hope, or your fear. The true opponent is the invisible architecture of your own psychology, the untrained nervous system that has been conditioned to seek immediacy over discipline, thrill over structure, and reaction over design. And this is why, despite every strategy you try, every indicator you watch, every tip or signal you follow, the result is the same. You are reacting, not creating. You must understand that emotional trading is never about the market. It is about misalignment. It is about a system that hasn't been designed to handle the inevitable swings of probability, the recurrence of patterns, and the moments when patience is required but desire screams louder. When you finally accept this, everything changes. You stop blaming the market, the broker, or the strategy. You look at yourself, at the structure that is absent, and you understand that the path forward is not in controlling emotion, but in designing a process that your nervous system trusts. Let me make this concrete. Every decision you make in trading exists in two planes. The first plane is conscious. Your plan, your rules, your risk calculations, your stop losses, your targets. The second plane is subconscious. Your habits, your conditioning, your immediate reaction to gains and losses, your fear of missing out, your compulsion to be right. For most traders, the subconscious plane is dominant. You may intellectually know that your risk is 1%, that the trend is aligned, that the entry meets all conditions. But the moment your subconscious senses pain, loss, or deviation from expectation, it overrides logic. You click, you hedge, you average down. You trade emotionally. This is why structure must move from theory into your body. Discipline is not something you practice once. It is something you architect moment by moment until it becomes your default state. You must embed rules so deeply into your system that the choice to react emotionally no longer exists. The impulse is neutralized because your process is louder than your desire. And this begins not with charts or strategies, but with clarity. Clarity about what your model is, clarity about what probability demands, clarity about what you will accept and what you will not. Without clarity, emotion will always find a foothold. Think about every trade you've taken that should have worked, but didn't. Was it because the market moved unpredictably? No. It was because you deviated from your model. You allowed yourself to be seduced by hope, fear, or pride. You traded based on what you wished would happen instead of what the model said should happen. And this, my friend, is where intentionality is forged. Intentionality is the bridge between knowledge and action, between plan and execution. Without it, all your rules are nothing more than aspirational scribbles. Now let's talk about the nervous system, because this is where the real transformation occurs. Your nervous system is trained to respond, not to calculate probability. It is trained to fight, flee, or freeze. When you place a trade, it does not see charts. It sees a potential threat to your capital. It responds with stress hormones, spikes in heart rate, a compulsion to fix the perceived problem. The only way to reprogram this is through repetition within structure. You do not tell yourself, don't panic, and hope it sticks. You architect scenarios where panic has nowhere to go, where every possible market outcome has been anticipated and accounted for in your process. Then, slowly, through consistent execution, your nervous system begins to trust the model more than your fear. And here is the subtle truth most traders never admit. Fear and greed are not your enemies. Your untrained response to them is. Fear signals that probability is at work. Greed signals that opportunity exists. But when you fuse with either, when you allow them to dictate your entries or exits, when you confuse impulse with insight, that is when the damage happens. You must create a system in which fear and greed exist as neutral data points, not triggers for action. This requires what I call structural anticipation. You must predefine the market's behavior and your response to it so comprehensively that in the moment of stress, there is no ambiguity. If price breaks support, if volatility spikes, if liquidity thins, your response is immediate, mechanical, and aligned with your model. Your mind and your body are no longer debating, they are executing. This is the difference between a trader who is reactive and one who is intentional. One loses to compulsion, the other commands probability. The transition from reactive to intentional trading is not an event. It is a process. And like any process, it must be designed. You begin by auditing every trade you've ever taken and asking, why did I click when I shouldn't have? Why did I let emotion override my model? Then you take the answers and translate them into structural rules, contingency plans, and rehearsed behaviors. And then, and only then, do you practice, not on theory, not on hope, but on execution. Repetition within structure rewires the system. Notice something here. This is not about being calm. Many traders chase calmness as if it were the solution. Calmness is a byproduct, not the design. You cannot command calm, you command structure. Calm emerges because structure has replaced chaos. Once your process dictates action, your nervous system relaxes. The compulsion to react diminishes. The temptation to trade emotionally evaporates. And this is when you start trading from consciousness, not compulsion. I want you to feel this right now. Picture yourself on a losing streak. The market is moving violently. The temptation to average down, to revenge trade, to win it back is screaming in your mind. Most traders give in. You do not. Not because you are disciplined in the abstract, but because you have designed your response in advance. Your model is louder than your desire. Your probability framework is louder than your panic. Your structure is louder than your ego. In that moment, you are no longer the market's prey. You are its author. And yet there is humility in this process. You will not achieve perfection. You will stumble. You will make mistakes. But the difference is that each mistake is now visible. It is not emotional. It is structural. You see the deviation clearly. You correct it. You integrate it into your system, and you move forward. This is the essence of intentional trading. Every action accounted for, every response deliberate, every outcome measured. Emotion does not disappear. It becomes informative, not directive. You're beginning to understand something profound. The real edge in trading is not prediction. It is intentionality. It is the ability to act consistently according to a designed system while the market does whatever it wants. This is why traders fail emotionally, because they are not intentional. They are not anchored in process. They chase outcomes instead of managing probability. They allow the market to dictate their state of mind instead of allowing the structure to dictate their action. And this is why you are here. You are ready to stop being reactive. You are ready to train your nervous system, to embed your model, to make decisions based on probability and process instead of compulsion. You are ready to stop asking, why did I do that, after every trade, and start answering, what does my system require me to do? The transformation begins not in the charts, not in the indicators, not in the strategies, but in you, in your commitment to structure, in your commitment to repetition, in your commitment to being intentional. Now let's move from theory into the living reality of your trades. Imagine your last emotional reaction, the trade you couldn't resist, the click you regretted immediately. Remember that tension in your chest, the anxiety, the whisper of hope that this one will work out? That moment is the battlefield where structure meets chaos. It is here that your nervous system either obeys your model or succumbs to its old conditioning. The difference between the trader who repeats mistakes and the one who consistently profits lies entirely in what happens in these seconds. Those seconds are sacred, and how you inhabit them defines everything. You must learn to anticipate the surge of impulse before it arrives. This is not mindfulness in the generic sense. This is structural anticipation. You identify the trigger, a loss, a deviation from expectation, a sudden market spike. Then you predefine your response. Stop, observe, execute according to your model. No discussion, no debate. The emotion exists. It is acknowledged but neutralized. You do not deny it. You do not suppress it. You integrate it as information, a signal that your process is at work. In these moments, you are training your system to trust probability over panic. Think about how most traders fail. They attempt to will themselves into calmness. They repeat affirmations, I won't panic, I will be disciplined. It rarely works because the mind obeys what has been repeated in practice, not what is wished in theory. True mastery comes from repetition within structure. You do not pray for composure. You practice composure through design. You rehearse every deviation the market can throw at you until your body and mind respond with mechanical fidelity to the model. Repetition is the bridge between theory and instinct. And there is a sacred discipline here. You must hold yourself accountable. Every deviation, every click made from compulsion must be observed without judgment and integrated into your structural framework. You do not react emotionally to your mistakes. You treat them as data. Each one informs the refinement of your model, your rules, and your processes. Through this methodical approach, the nervous system learns trust. It learns that probability and process are reliable. It learns that reaction is unnecessary because every scenario has been rehearsed. Now let us talk about the subtle predator that accompanies emotional trading: desire. Desire is not greed. Desire is the quiet insistence that the outcome must be yours, that control lies in your hands, that the market must conform to your expectation. Desire is the thread that pulls you off structure, that compels you to click when you shouldn't. You cannot eliminate desire, but you can redirect it. You channel it into preparation, into adherence to rules, into repetition. Desire becomes energy for execution, not chaos for reaction. Consider your last streak of impulsive trading. What would have happened if you had applied structural anticipation? If, instead of reacting, you had a preordained response mapped to every potential market movement? Imagine not needing to fight the anxiety, not needing to suppress the urge, not needing to negotiate with your compulsion. You would have acted, measured, and consistent. Profit or loss would have been secondary. Your real victory would have been sovereignty over your mind. This is where transformation shifts from concept to reality. You begin to see emotional trading not as failure, but as a signal that your structure requires reinforcement. Every emotional trade is evidence of a system gap. And once you see it this way, stop punishing yourself. You stop the cycle of guilt, frustration, and hope. You focus on repair, on structural design, on repetition. You focus on becoming intentional because intention is the antidote to compulsion. You are now approaching a place where consciousness overrides reaction. This is the threshold. It is not a destination marked by calm, wealth, or perfect execution. It is a state defined by adherence to process, by trust in the model, and by clarity in the face of market chaos. Here you trade with a different currency, not fear, not hope, not impulse, but probability, structure, and deliberate execution. The market can rage, spike, or deceive. It no longer dictates your state of mind. You do. And there is a further depth here, often overlooked by traders who have never committed fully. Reflection is part of the structural system. After each session, after each streak of trades, you review without attachment. You record deviations, analyze behavior, and integrate lessons. This is how your nervous system internalizes trust. This is how repetition within structure becomes instinct. And this, ultimately, is how intentional trading is built. One deliberate action, one conscious decision, one reinforced pattern at a time. Now, let's bring this full circle. You asked, why do I keep making emotional decisions even when I know better? The answer is clear. Your behavior has been conditioned by repetition of misaligned actions. Your impulses are louder than your process. Your subconscious responds faster than your conscious mind can intervene. And the remedy is equally clear. Embed your model so completely into your nervous system that impulse no longer has power over execution. Anchor your rules, rehearse your responses, integrate every deviation, and let structure dominate. You will not achieve this overnight. There will be moments of frustration, temptation, and relapse. That is inevitable. What separates the trader who becomes intentional from the one who remains reactive is relentless adherence to structure, ruthless honesty in review, and patient repetition. You do not chase perfection. You chase alignment. You chase consistency. You chase sovereignty over your own mind. And here at this point, we arrive at the core of intentional trading. You are no longer fighting fear. You are no longer pleading with discipline. You are no longer hoping for outcomes. You have designed your system. You have repeated your responses. You have trained your nervous system to trust probability over panic. You are trading from consciousness, not compulsion. You are now the author of your actions, the commander of your probability, the architect of your results. If you stay with this process, your trading will change irrevocably. You will begin to notice it in small victories, holding through volatility, executing precisely as planned, observing the market without reaction, and finally, feeling the liberation that comes from knowing structure governs your trades, not emotion. And as these victories compound, you will find something more profound. You are no longer a trader reacting to charts. You are an intentional creator in the market, operating from clarity, discipline, and design. And this is why you are here. Welcome to Intentional Trading, where structure replaces emotion and trading becomes intentional by design. Here, every lesson is an invitation to reclaim control, to train your mind, and to command probability. Here, emotional trading ceases to dominate because your process, your model, and your repeated execution have made it impossible. This is the moment where you stop being traded and begin trading intentionally. Stay with this path. Commit to structure, repeat relentlessly, observe your deviations, integrate every lesson, and let every action, every click, every decision be guided not by desire, not by fear, not by hope, but by probability, process, and purpose. This is the edge few traders ever find, and it is now within your reach. You are no longer at the mercy of the market or your impulses. You are an intentional trader. You are conscious. You are sovereign. You are aligned.